Okay, everyone, hello and welcome to this Friday meeting. This is a social roundtable for the Global Walkability Correspondents Network. Thank you for taking time to be here. We had a few of these earlier this year. We called them welcome roundtables, in which participants could join and basically introduce themselves. I'm just going to share a little bit about the network to start off with, and then we'll jump into introductions. I started this network in January 2022 as a way to welcome a global voice to pedestrianspace.org and to establish a network that would welcome people from all around the world who are voices of walkability, whether through their profession or through their lived experience or both. And what's happening, of course, is that the network is attracting people who are as nuts about walkability and related issues as I am, and across so many disciplines. It's extremely fascinating to have experienced this growth of the network over the past several years, several months, and so much has also changed from the point of inception in January when I founded it. So today, I just want to share, we have 133 correspondents in 49 countries and 124 cities. And as some of you know, I welcomed you as the first correspondent in your country and or in your city. And then for others, you joined the network and there were multiple other participants in your country. I think this is one of the really exciting things about the network, because it can lead to local synergies as people in hubs start to connect as well as globally and across borders. As we all know, we have many working groups. Some of you here are very active in them, leading them, have already hosted roundtables. We're really kicking up with many more roundtables and new series. For example, mobility methodologies will begin next month. We've been hosting authors. So the roundtable series are really taking form, and they're also exciting. And I just want to share in closing that this year, as network founder and facilitator, I've really maintained an open and experimental approach. And I want to also thank all participants for being part of that. And, for me, this is a real learning experience. And I look forward to growing the network, but also sustaining the activities that we have, and also empowering people to, have agency, for example, over working groups that they're leading. I think there's so much potential in this group, and it's already coming forward. Many working groups have projects going, surveys, and are connecting, forming professional acquaintanceships and friendships. So I really love to see that. So it's great to see you all join today. We will be having several of these to accommodate different time zones. As we all know, that's one tricky thing with the global network, is meetings that accommodate everyone. We just can't accommodate everyone across the globe. So we'll have a series. Please feel free to join as many as you want. So let's get started. Please, when you're sharing, feel free to share about yourself, your profession, if you're comfortable, where you're based, and what drew you to the network. And if you're engaged in activities already in the network, definitely feel free to share about that. And after you're done, please feel free to choose somebody you don't know to go after you. Raphael, I'm going to start with, how about we start with you?
Okay, so my name is Raphael. I'm originally from Hong Kong, but now based in Stockholm, Sweden. So my main interest in urbanism is walkability and placemaking. And I'm working on a startup on participatory urban design. And as a side, I also work as an event manager for sports events, especially in orienteering. Okay, now I'm gonna choose a person that I don't know. Okay, Arshil, you next.
Hold on, before we move on, Raphael, could you just share about your roundtable activities, please?
Oh, yes, right. So on this network, I've been organizing a few roundtables recently. For example, I organized one just now in September on placemaking, and next month on November 20th, there's gonna be a joint session with for placemaking and street art together.
Great. Want to choose somebody?
Yes, Arshil, please.
Anika, may I? Okay, yeah. Hi. Hi, everybody. This is Arshil from India. I am from the northeastern part of India, from a state called Assam. I belong to the capital of Assam, called Guwahati. It's a small place, about 1.5 million population. It's a very old city, a lot of hills and forests nearby. A big river, one of the biggest rivers of India, passes through my city. I am not, I don't have the academic qualifications of an architect or a urban planner. I basically had some prior experience of banking, then software IT development and all those. I left my job 10 years back, got into some other works. Then 6 years back, I got into advocacy. Primarily, initially started out as a cycling advocate. I became a bicycle mayor in 2018. While doing my advocacy work for cycling and all, I realized there's more to, I need to speak more about, work more into sustainable transportation. And that's how I got attracted to pedestrian and walkability facilities as well. This year I came to know about the pedestrian space when some of my colleagues, few of my bicycle mayor colleagues had joined the platform. I realized this is something that will help me to connect with people across the world to understand how walkability and pedestrianism helps so basically that's few of my introduction. And also in Guwahati, I co-founded 2 organizations, one specifically working in the space of cycling. It's called Paddle for a Change. Another is we call it GAMOF. The full form is Green and Active Mobility Forum, working in the advocacy of sustainable and active mobility. So that's a bit from me. Anita, you'd like to hear anything else, or should I?
How about we save questions for if everybody could just present, and then if you have questions for each other, how about we get into that after everybody has a chance to present?
So going ahead, I would like to request Nuhan Basam. Sorry if I'm not able to pronounce your name properly.
And no, Nurhan is right. Okay, so a little bit about me. I am originally Egyptian. I was born in Dubai, where I grew up and lived most of my life. Currently, I am between Cairo and Milan because my PhD takes place in the context of Cairo. It's mainly about creating resilient cities and communities, and especially through arts and culture initiatives. So it's about tactical urbanism and incremental steps to achieving that. My background is architecture, so I am my bachelor's in architecture, a master's in architecture and urbanism, and now my PhD is mainly about, I think, cities and people. I am specifically interested in just cities, creating the ideal city. What is the ideal city? But it's specifically from feminist urban development perspectives, exploring how to create, how to affect the cities or people by unequal distribution of resources, oppression, social exclusion that we face as less women-oriented governance in urban development in cities, and for gender transformative urban planning approach. So yeah, for more gender equality, equity, and justice in the planning process. And so I regard myself as well as feminist urbanist and placemaker, because eventually we are searching for more social inclusive communities where everyone has a place in their city. So yeah, this is briefly what I am doing. I have an initiative, a think tank about gaming in the city for kids, teen girls, marginalized people, in creating active places for people to just be, play, and to express themselves. So, yeah. I would go with Graham, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Graham McCabe. I live in a city in Australia called Wollongong, which is about 60 kilometres south of Sydney. I primarily work in Sydney and across Australia. My background is traffic engineering, turning into a transport planner. So I am unfortunately a culprit in designing large interchanges as part of my career. But I've had I've seen the light and moving very much towards taking away road space and giving it over to parklets and bicycle parking and trying to help make great spaces. So very much working to make livable places. I do a lot of active transport projects in my career. So lots of walking and cycling projects, and working with a lot of local governments in Australia in helping wean themselves off being car dependent. And a lot of that involves improving walkability and supporting 15-minute neighborhoods. Yeah, and hopefully we'll be kicking off a Asia Pacific time zone roundtable soon. So unfortunately a lot of the things that happen in the Central European time in the middle of the night for us. So we'll be trying to get some things that are a bit more amenable for all of us to be able to contribute. And I'll pass over to, excuse the pronunciation, Temen.
Gregoire, do you want to share? Excuse me, Gregoire, are you there? Would you like to share? I wonder if we have any French speakers here. No.
Oui, bonjour, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Désolé parce que moi je comprends pas tellement anglais là, donc ça sera un peu difficile. Hein?
My French is really rusty.
Unfortunately, I understood a bit, but I think it will be impossible to follow.
Donc c'est sûr de.
Well, Gregoire is in Mali and working with Safe Routes for Children. He has an organization that focuses on school children being able to get safely to school. You can try, Gregoire, if you wanna present. I can try. My French is so rusty, but we can try. Feel free to present.
Voilà. Donc, merci pour l'introduction, Aniska. Merci pour l'introduction. Merci. Voilà.
Thank you for being here. Gregoire, we're going to need to figure out a roundtable to feature you and have somebody, we have several French speakers in the group to help translate. So we will have a roundtable focused on you and your work.
Oui, c'est ça. C'est ça. Merci, Aniska.
Merci. So, everybody, do we have questions for each other? We have Stockholm, Cairo, Milan, Guwahati, Sikasso, Sydney. So I don't know if you all, and such different disciplines, if you all have questions for each other, please feel free to ask. We're a shy group today. How about, I have an idea, a little bit more also about why people join the network and perhaps what they'd like to see, maybe things that already exist in the network that they are looking forward to participating in, or things that maybe don't exist in the network yet that they would love to see evolve either by their own efforts or through some collective efforts. What is your hope for, participating in this network, thinking ahead the next 6 months? I often like to say the network should enrich your personal and or professional activities. As some of you know who've gotten active, it's a very busy place once you start getting involved in working groups. And I always say the network shouldn't distract from your life. It should enrich your life, your work, maybe even your personal life. Many of us are also passionate walkers, basically. So thinking about that, Arshel.
Yeah, hi. So actually, I should have put up this thing in the India group first, but then I thought this is something I could put up here as well. My thought basically comes from the idea of having a day for, just like we have 3rd of June declared for as World Bicycle Day. We don't, in India, actually, there's an effort going on, some civil society organizations to declare 14th of January as National Pedestrian Day. So this started this year, 2022. I think next year also a lot of other organizations will come up and support. I'll be putting this up in the India group as well. So I was hoping if something can be taken up internationally and ask for a dedicated day, because even though a dedicated day actually brings in focus about the need of pedestrian and walking facilities. I think this is a worldwide network. I think we can put it forward. That is what I was proposed actually.
I believe there are some international days and we should probably be plugging into those and maybe even collaborating efforts. I'm sorry to ask, just to clarify, was your idea for a particular theme or just a general pedestrian focused day internationally?
Pedestrian specific focus day for international. Okay. We also have this coming up at 31st of October is World Cities Day. That is something we can focus on. The other days as well, World Car Free Day, even though it is not an UN declared day, other days as well. But then coming up 31st of October is something we can work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are many days and it could be a great activity for anyone in the network who would like to come up with a list of days. I think there is an international pedestrian, there's different car-free days too. There's a lot of potential to collaborate with people who like conceptualize these days, some of the organizations. Norhan?
For me, I was thinking about gendered mobility aspects as my interest for just cities. So cities and how they are designed for the mobility aspect, specifically for the location of bus stops, how well lit streets are in that area, how it affects women's movement in the city, like how can women and girls in different cities, as we are a global network, we can work on maybe gathering some data of how maybe the mobility aspects are designed in each city. How is it for different cities around the world? Is it because mobility is a critical factor in reducing segregation and for women and young girls that can fully benefit from the mobility system and opportunities in the city. So yeah, I was thinking of like maybe not an academic paper, but something in like gathering data about different cities with different mobility transits and percentage of women and caregivers and teen girls engaging in this system, and yeah, I think we can find some interesting findings from different cities and different parts of the cities.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And I really urge you, but I actually think Norhan, I believe you're already in, or at least on the list for the Gender and Mobility Group, led by Pallavi she's in India. And they just had their first meeting. As we know, we can't always make it to meetings, but this is a perfect group to bring this topic to. And in fact, Pallavi's looking for a co-lead. So it's always great. I think people who have ideas for activities specifically, it's great to be a co-lead because you can use that working group as your laboratory. It can even feed into your work. I think that's perfect when people actually look at working groups as laboratories for the work they're doing too. So I would really urge you, I think Pallavi would love that. They just had their first meeting. There's a few people there, one from Perth, one from London, and Cadiz. And so that would be, I believe you're already on the list for that group. So that would be really exciting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can share the findings with the whole community later on. I think it's really interesting.
Right, but that is exactly, as some of you know, that's exactly the function of a working group. That's one of the many potential functions, is to lead a survey or to gather some data in a focused way. With, you now have this network, you have people all across the world that you can gather data across borders with and compare it. And so to me, that's one of the greatest potentials here. And, you know, I don't know what's going on in all the working groups. As I say, many working groups are off on their journeys and collecting data and doing really fascinating things. And at some point they will come back and share with the network what they've been up to.
But I don't think I'm in that group, unfortunately.
I'll make a note. And if you're not, we can join you if you would like to.
Because I don't recall getting the meeting invitation. So
Okay.
no.
So that's just some admin stuff I'll follow up on. But if you're interested, just type a note to me in the chat if you do want to follow up and be part of that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Graham?
I was just going to say we're about to do some work on Sydney about nighttime transport safety for women. So when we complete that, I'll share it with you and with that working group as well.
Yeah, wow, that's perfect.
So I might as well talk about why I joined. Look, as a consultant, we tend to work in isolation on our projects, and we dip in and out of what the latest knowledge and thinking is, and you know, the Googling and searching on LinkedIn and things like that is to find info is all well and good, but I think being able to just talk to like-minded people around the world and share knowledge and information so that we can apply it all over the place, I think it's good. You know, finding out what works and what doesn't work for people, and particularly in the space of, we're doing a lot of trials and temporary projects in Australia at the moment, and looking for people and cities that have been through, you know, similar experiences, and did they stick and keep going, or, you know, were they, you know, pulled out by the, you know, the pro car lobby. Just finding out what works and what has worked and what hasn't worked.
Okay, I have another question too, and this relates to geographies. Arshel is here. Arshel, you're in Guwahati, you joined, and there was, I would say, a very robust India working group already formed by the time you joined. We have, I don't know the numbers, but it's first of all, I would say one of the most active geographically based groups in the network. And it's growing. And to me, that's always exciting when a new India correspondent group joins the group, because we now have such a diversity of cities represented in the India group. And I think it's kind of like can offer a template of how a geography-based group can work in this network. Obviously, that's not a novel concept. Many networks have geography-based groups, but exploring how it will work in this network. So and also Graham, I think when you joined, there were I don't even know, I might have welcomed you as the first Australia correspondent, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And now we have a couple people in Perth, a few people in Sydney, I believe, Melbourne. So to me, this is interesting. How do we tap into the potential of local regional synergies and then also the global participation? Raphael, you're in Stockholm. We have 3 members in Stockholm. Norhan, we have 3 members in Cairo and a few in Italy, I believe. And welcome, Anne-Marie. Hello, Netherlands. And I believe Alan just joined as well. And Alan, I will turn it over and allow Anne-Marie and Alan to present. But speaking of regional synergies, when Alan joined the network, he mentioned that he'd be happy to lead up a regional group for UK as well as Spain. So maybe let's allow Anne-Marie and Alan to present, but maybe think about what your ideas are too for these local regional synergies, but also the global participation piece. But Anne-Marie, would you like to present? We are sharing a bit about ourselves, our location, our engagement in the network, or our vision for engaging.
Hi everyone, I'm Anne-Marie Bergsma. I'm from the Sustainable Nurse in the Netherlands, where we try to implement planetary health in the curricula of nurses and doctors. And I see the linkage between pedestrian placemaking and health. Well, I'm trying to find local communities here also to think with local government to see if we can link health with the mobility. And also I see the problem with the nursing staff who needs safe transportation and sustainable transportation. And that is a difficult one to see how to connect and also to see how we can make healthcare in such a way that nurses can be home safe. So that is the part which I'm concerned about for future. Thank you.
And also, interestingly, I mean, you kind of represent.
And I'm in Den Haag for people who. Yeah.
That's why I want to hear the location.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to doing a walkability rating video with you of Den Haag from our first call, actually with all of you. If I haven't done a walkability rating video with you, I'm interested in doing with every correspondent the whole 1 to 10 rating for walkability, public transit, and sometimes we do cycling as well. But Alan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm normally based in London. I'm currently although I'm moving all the time between London and southern Spain. So at the moment I'm in southern Spain, in the Andalusian region, and it's in the south of the south. So it's Cadiz, just next to the north of Africa. And but I'm working in London in Local Trust, which is quite a unique project that's a funding community and participatory project, and they basically gave £1 million to 150 areas within the UK, and they could spend it however they wanted to. So that's obviously led to lots of different community placemaking ideas and things going on around there. That just reminded me, Anne-Marie, that what you're talking about, there's lots of work going on in the UK at the moment about community health delivery and bringing together the nurses and the doctors from GPs, which are the local medical areas, to work with community organisations and things like that.
Great to hear. I was wondering, is there already a health group here for pedestrian space?
Yes, Nicole Roberts, who's based in St. Petersburg, Florida, and she works for she leads the Car Free St. Pete initiative. She's leading the public health and well-being group. And as with many groups, a lot of these leaders would welcome co-leadership. And as the group grows, groups are going to need co-leadership. If you've heard my quirky analogy for working groups, is I see them as ships and pedestrian space as the port. It'd be great to have, people for different shifts and also to capture different regions. So Nicole's in Florida when she's leading meetings that it's always accommodating the Americas, sometimes Europe, but not always Asia, for example, or Australia, New Zealand. So if you, Anne-Marie, if you are interested in participating in that group, I'll definitely connect you to. And also, as I said earlier, I'm always welcoming ideas for roundtables. I help as a network facilitator. Sometimes I'm hosting them, but often, I welcome people to coordinate a roundtable. So Anne-Marie, if you wanted to coordinate a roundtable with the health perspective from your own angle and sort of lead that discussion, and I can host it, on my Zoom, I really welcome that.
Thank you.
I'm going to drop again in the chat just a list of upcoming roundtables. Everybody should be getting invites. If you're not, just from an admin perspective, let me know. I don't know what to do about all the emails. I'm sorry. I'm a busy person. The network is a busy place. So I'm learning to streamline, but it's getting busy, and I think it's exciting. You can hit decline, you can join, you can help organize, you can come and listen and be passive. Everything's possible. So any more ideas or thoughts also on the regional potentials, the city and regional potentials, and as well as the global? Or anything else? There are quiet group today. Okay. Also, ideas for roundtables. Anybody have ideas? Alan's here. Alan, next Friday, October 28th, Alan is leading a roundtable on politics of walking and walkability. Actually, Alan, if you want to do a blurb about that right now, that would be great.
Well, the idea is just to explore how we kind of understand, well, start off exploring how we understand land in general and how that's led to what access we have to it and how we can walk in some places more and less, and then how that's related to different political contexts in different regions and areas and countries, and probably finish off a bit with comparing different regions like the UK, Scotland and England are different, but they've got more accessibility to walking than places like Spain or Greece or Portugal, for example. So maybe go a thread through all those different ideas of how we have been restricted when walking through different types of land around the country and that kind of idea.
Right, Alan, I like your idea very much, especially that I live in Sweden, where we have the rights of roaming everywhere. Yeah, so I guess it's a very good topic for a roundtable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have very good rights to walk over private property unless it's an easement for access. Yeah.
And it's interesting just to have a look, because I wasn't aware of how much. So like Scotland's got huge amounts of rights to walk over lots of private property. So I think anything that isn't a private garden, you're allowed to walk over it, like basically. And then in England, it's only 8% of land that you're allowed to walk around. That's got like designated pathways. And then in Spain, it's just nothing at all, hardly anything.
Right. Speaking of which, I've once read a book called Alborgaretten, where it also where it also advocates not just for the right to roam in nature, but also the right to roam in a city, even on private urban land.
Definitely also a concept to include, Raphael, but then it's because it can become a huge discussion, because it's then just about what we understand about the commons and what we think should what private ownership should entail and what it shouldn't.
Well, it sounds like a preview of next Friday's roundtable. It's going to be really interesting. So I hope you all are able to join if you're interested in the discussion. Graham, I was wondering if you could just share a bit. I know you volunteered to lead up Australasia and Australia. I forgot what we call it. Australia, New Zealand, East Asia group.
Yes.
And maybe
Yeah. So so the time zone that spans from New Zealand to Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, China. Just given that we're in such a different part where it can work with a meeting with Europe in the morning or North America in the afternoon, evening. But if there's a meeting that is Europe and North America, then that's in the middle of our night always. So just when I first joined, and just looking at the time zones of the times of some of the meetings, they're 3 a.m. Our time, and as much as I want to learn from you all, I don't want to get up at 3 a.m. for a Zoom meeting. Yeah, so Annika and I had a discussion about setting up a working group around that, and then unfortunately I fell off my bike and hurt myself. So now that I'm mostly recovered, yeah, I'll start trying to get that going.
Yeah, and again, as my role in network facilitator, what I'm looking to do. Yeah, sorry. Basically, I'm not involved in most groups. I can't be, but help facilitate the groups setting sail. Is everything frozen here? Oh no, there's. So anyway,
Yeah.
Always think of me as help. So I'll follow up with you, Graham, about emails needed. But as everybody knows, almost every group has a LinkedIn chat. I don't know if that's the most efficient way moving forward for long term for the network, but for right now, it's a great place just to touch base, and then some groups, for example, the India group has moved on to a WhatsApp thread, which I like. I like WhatsApp. It's easy to, reference things in conversation, but so that will be interesting. Raphael, do you want to share a bit about your roundtable coming up that you're hosting with Mohammed?
Right. So we at the Placemaker group has a roundtable coming up with the street networking group. That's gonna be on November 20th, if I remember correctly. It's gonna be a sharing of street art in its public space context. So how does street art influences the sense of place? So welcome.
Sometimes some neighborhoods base their identities on that street art. It happens a lot, doesn't it? There's lots of that here, and not here, over there in London. There's lots of that happening there as well.
Indeed. Yeah, actually, also, it's like it's in the Stockholm, like it is like in behind, but I think Stockholm is getting a lot of progress.
Okay, I'm sort of just going one by one with each person, and a lot of you are active with different things, so I just want to spotlight that. Arshel, you joined as a bicycle mayor. Is Arshel here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, Arshel, you joined as a bicycle mayor. I think. Well, first of all, you were the second bicycle mayor in India. Is that
Yeah,
you?
I was.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And we have a number of other bicycle mayors in the network from India. And I think this is interesting as some of you know, well, if you've read the network guidelines, you know that I have this stance that I'm not interested in really doing super bicycle centric media at Pedestrian Space. I am all about shining the light on very specific walkability issues. Sometimes people say, well, sometimes they have common issues. That's true. But I feel like walkability needs an even stronger spotlight. And that's what I want to focus on. And that's why I started this network. That's why I do what I do at Pedestrian Space. Not to say I'm not interested in cycling, all of that, but I think walkability can benefit from a much stronger voice and much more visibility. If you talk to many people who have been in mobility advocacy and specifically walkability advocacy for a long time, they say walkability is always neglected, less funding, less visibility. So to me, that's a need. However, I think it's really important to open the door to allyships, you know, and to learn, for example, from people who are in cycling advocacy like you, Arshel, how and who are also keen on being involved in walkability advocacy, how we can ally and not create division, how we can, you know, yeah, basically ally. So do you have any ideas for that? I think this would make a great roundtable too. That maybe the bicycle mayors can in fact lead.
Yeah, I started cycling mainly as a recreation activity and got into organizing different kinds of events. So one of the two things that we do basically is engagement with the authorities and the community. With the authorities, we try to emphasize the importance of investing in cycling infrastructure. But then, like I told you, I have another organization in Guwahati called Green and Active Mobility Forum, through which actually we are focusing not just only in cycling, but also in walking. Because just like you said, walking has always been neglected here. It's all across India actually. So that's the reason we started this formation. We named it actually Active Mobility, which is not for simply focusing on cycling. I got into this whole advocacy work after I became the bicycle mayor. That's how I understood about the advocacy and all. But then I have shifted my focus on all those. But then again, coming back to what I said about regarding engagement in the community, we have been organizing different kinds of cycling events. We even organize cycling races and all. That is how we feel the community gets to know about our work. Also, it came specifically with races and all. It engages the youngsters to get involved in cycling. I was thinking of organizing. Actually, not thinking. Actually, I wanted to ask you, like, if anybody has any experience of organizing walks, like heritage walks or food walks and all those. Engaging with the community, going on to in the blocks and the neighborhood, exploring the neighborhood, understanding neighborhood. Also, I think that is how we can understand the problems with our walking facilities as well. Has anybody done that? Because I was thinking of doing something similar in Guwahati, if I can learn from this.
We definitely have many people in the network who have done this. So I'm taking notes. This will be great to have them present at roundtables and share just how they organize, what they did. I love your idea about heritage walks too. That's something I don't hear a lot about, but there's so much to explore with heritage and walkability. So I don't know what we will call it, but I think that'd be great to start featuring the people in the network who have a lot of experience doing this. We definitely, I think immediately of Jonathan Stalls at Pedestrian Dignity. He does a lot of walk shops and everything. If anybody else here does organize walks, please feel free to share. I think this is something that network-wide people would be really interested in. So I'll be thinking of who I can ask maybe to help lead some roundtables about that. How can we do that in our own communities? That's a really great idea.
Right, Norhan, I have an idea on a possible roundtable on games in public space. Like we can share like different activities and games that are being on public space, like each one like sharing something they know or working in?
Yeah, definitely. As part of placemaking as well, and active play for all ages and different groups. That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, folks, more questions, thoughts, ideas for activities? If not, we can close early. I have something very quirky to share. As I often say, I see this network as sort of a laboratory too, an open, very experimental laboratory, not only for issues of all the many issues of walkability, but also for the strengthening of our voices. And this is something I'm thinking about more and more. And I'm very comfortable online talking, but I'm a person that is very challenged to publicly speak in front of groups. I don't know if any of you have that or have had it and overcome it. And for me, going forward, in my work as a PhD student, I recently started, and also as somebody who actually wants to do talks and face that fear. One thing I'm also looking to explore in the network is some types of workshops and everything to help out with that. Actually, I was recently at the end of the Gender and Mobility Roundtable. I was talking with the group lead for that, and we were both sharing our fear of public speaking, but how we want to overcome it, especially to be able to be better advocates. So I'm excited in this network to not only explore the issues, but to kind of like improve our actual toolkit of being. So in this case, being able to present comfortably. To me, it's very different online than in person. So I'll be starting something related to that. If you're interested in participating, let me know. Or if you have some experience with this topic, let me know. I'm not sure how. I would really prefer to do it in person with everybody, but next best. Anne-Marie.
I wonder if you know Toastmasters. Maybe that could be helpful.
Yeah, I will probably try to join the local Toastmasters, right? But I'm aware that other people in the network share this thing with me. And I think the best thing for us all to do is find something locally to get that practice. But I thought it would be really interesting to try to create something. For example, many people in this network have social media accounts. They're online, digitally sharing their work, digitally advocating for livable, walkable cities. So we can do things like challenge each other, social media challenges, creating media and evaluating each other's delivery, this and that. To me, this is something really exciting, and it could be interactive in a totally different type of working group. So Arshel, I see your note. You're interested in this group? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, definitely. I do feel challenged about speaking publicly. So I definitely want to participate and learn.
And you have social media too. So I think, yeah, I'm excited. I think we'll be doing social media challenges. What do you think? Okay. But Anne-Marie, I agree. I think it's really the thing you have to do is join a local group. And so Toastmasters would be great. Yeah, Alan wrote constructive criticism of how we present and build improvements. Exactly. Even today, just leading this is supposed to be very casual, but I had way too much espresso and like racing and tripping over my words, and I recognize that. So just really small things too, small silly things about improving our performance to also really formal issues. And then when we get into social media presentation, that's a whole nother ball game. I could really imagine collective improvement through collaborating with each other and doing some challenges with each other. Okay, if nobody else has anything to share, we can close the meeting out. Does anybody want to say anything in closing?
I think we share, me and Rafael, some of the footage and videos from our session in Pontevedra. And I think Alan is the closest to go to that area in Galicia. And I think you should. It's definitely worth the visit. It was magical. So yeah, if I can share the screen, but I'm not enabled, I think.
Hold on 1 second. I'll enable that. Okay, it's ready.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so this is one of the maybe there's a better video for the game. This is the urban way thingy, but there's a specific video that was where's the video? Okay, 1 minute. Mm-hmm. The kids really enjoyed their time playing some urban play. It was brilliant. Yeah. They actually didn't want to leave when their parents were like. Yeah, it was quite cool.
Okay, Norhan, that's great. Yeah, if you and Rafael wanted to do even something more substantial about your time there and have a meeting welcoming network participants about that on that. I haven't been to Pontevedra, but just wanted to share this document that I'm totally obsessed with. It's better on foot. I had it printed at my local printer. This is the document by the city, the Department of Communications for the city of Pontevedra, published in 2013, laying out how they did this, what they did. It's in English. So what they did to create this pedestrian mobility city that, as Norhan showed and explained, it's like a pedestrian heaven. So I also just love the layout. It's very visual, the management of mobility, worthy public space, intermodality is focused on pedestrians. So this kind of lays out how the city got there too. It's an incredible document. I absolutely love it. Better on foot. It's available online, the PDF. And I had to print it because I had to hold it in my hand. So
yeah, and I can search for that as well, because it's for the past 20 years. The mayor was saying that it was challenging, yet their words are like till now. It's very. I felt like 20 years ago when the before internet times, I felt like I'm a kid again, and the world has like no internet. Kids are going to school walking, and they're playing in the front garden in front of their houses. So yeah, it's much simpler, cleaner, easier times. So yeah, it was pretty magical. Oh, thank you, Alan.
Yeah, they've been on. We had them. They came down here to my hometown a few years ago to talk about their experience and what they've been doing and all that. So they've been going on talks around the country and explaining. Although our mayor completely ignored that. So but at least they came around, and other people that were interested were able to have a good understanding of what they were doing. Yeah. I've always wanted to go to Galicia, haven't been yet.
Yeah, it is very magical. Yeah.
Okay, a brief note, we have a public transit roundtable tomorrow morning that's going to be led by Devantha, who's based in Sri Lanka. So for those of you who like talking public transit and who will not be asleep at that time, for whom the time works, look forward to seeing you there. Graham, I wanted to make mention too, I really deeply apologize for not having more times that do accommodate Australia. We also have in November 2 roundtables coming up on public toilet equity, and I'm co-leading these with Karen, who's based in Perth. And so we really thought about time zones when we created these two. I think the meetings went out already. So one of the meetings is going to be like 11 p.m. my time, so I'll be staying up really late, and then the other one alternately but it's going to accommodate, of course, Australia. So this is maybe the future of the network in which people team up, and I'm more and more looking at having more than one roundtable for each topic. For example, Alan's on politics of walking and walkability. I recently welcomed a new network participant from, I'm going to need you to say it for me, Graham, the capital of your country, Canberra. It's hard for me. And the time just didn't work for her, but she was really interested in it, and no doubt she's not the only one. So I did ask Alan, can we schedule maybe another politics of walking roundtable that will accommodate that area? So I'm starting to think about that more and more for roundtables. So I hope if you feel like you've been totally left out in your time zone, please know that I'm really trying to think globally about meetings and accommodating more participants.
Look, well, I won't say my time zone's small because it's very large. But yeah, fully understand that, trying to get as many people as possible, somebody has to be left out. Yeah. Just before we go, I've just shared with everyone a LinkedIn post that I did, which I think, Annika, when we had our first catch up, I showed you the graph of it. It's now an animated GIF it just shows how much more valuable pedestrians are to city economies than every other mode. And that was work that we did for Melbourne in Australia. But I'm sure if you did the work anywhere else in the world, you would probably come out with similar values, except maybe in Dallas, or somewhere in America that's everything surrounded by a massive car parking lot. So I can. And there's another one that I'm about to post as well, which I might be able to get up for everyone. Let's share my screen. I think it is. Yeah. So this is another little GIF where we actually break down all of the components. It's a little bit fast. I've got one that's a bit slower. We broke down all the components of the public road space in Melbourne and looked at how much they're contributing to different parts of the economy. So, and again, you can see, walking wins out, but in the Australian context, we very definitely still, the conversation is dominated by cars, even though most of the people are walking.
It would be actually great to feature that presentation in the working well in a roundtable, Graham, so we can Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole presentation that sits behind it, which I gave at a conference in August. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, great. Okay, folks, anything else? Does anybody have any media they want to share? Anything in closing? Okay, great. Well, I have a load of notes. I hope it was great for you all to also meet each other. Welcome to future Welcome Roundtables. I have a follow-up to do with each one of you, in fact. We're developing new roundtables as we talk. Again, feel free to contact me if you would like to lead one, host one, any working groups. Some of them really are in need of co-leadership too. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Anika, for all the work you're doing. And yeah.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, great to see you all.
You, bye-bye, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.